Intro. The impossible trade. Kevin Durant just did something nobody saw coming, and the Houston Rockets might have pulled off the boldest heist the NBA's seen in a decade. At 37, KD should have been the one piece Phoenix would never let go. But instead, he's headed to a franchise that's been quietly waiting to strike, and the story of how this happened might be even crazier than the trade itself. It wasn't that long ago that Durant was basically untouchable. He was the prize that cost the Suns half a decade of their future. 5 first-round picks, Mikal Bridges, Cam Johnson, Jae Crowder, gone overnight, all to push Phoenix over the top. For a second, it looked like it might work on paper, but Durant in Phoenix turned into a slow-motion car crash, the owner who ruined everything. The deeper truth is KD's final days in Phoenix were doomed the second Matt Ishbia got too greedy for his own good. He was the new owner who couldn't stand waiting around. He wanted fireworks. He mortgaged the Suns' future for Durant, then doubled down by trading for Bradley Beal, ignoring every red flag. Beal's contract was a mess, a no-trade clause so tight it trapped Phoenix in a corner. On the court, the Suns got worse. From the finals in 2021 to a second-round exit with Durant to a first-round sweep once Beal arrived. Every all-star they added made the team more top-heavy, more fragile, and way more helpless once the playoffs came around. With no picks, no cap room, and no young talent left, Phoenix had just one card left to play: Kevin Durant himself. Until KD took control. But you don't just send Durant wherever you want. He's not that type of superstar. When Phoenix tried to sneak him back to Golden State, hoping to revive the dynasty magic, Durant shut it down fast. He'd already closed that chapter. No way he'd share a locker room with Draymond Green again. So KD made his own list. If he was going to move, it'd be on his terms. Minnesota wanted him badly, offering Rudy Gobert or Julius Randle, plus picks, young guys, everything. Durant wasn't interested. He wasn't wasting his last shot somewhere cold where he couldn't pick the roster. That left 3 options: the Spurs, the Heat, and the Rockets. When San Antonio and Miami said no. San Antonio was the dream, pairing KD with Wemby, the league's next unicorn. But the Spurs were too smart to burn their future. They knew KD wouldn't deliver a title overnight, not with Wemby still growing into his prime. So they backed out. Next up, Miami. The Heat were desperate after losing Jimmy Butler, but Pat Riley doesn't panic. When Phoenix asked for Jaime Jaquez, Nikola Jovic, or any real picks, the Heat said no. They thought Phoenix would cave. Phoenix didn't. So Miami vanished from the table, and Durant's wish list got shorter. Houston steps in. And that's when the Rockets pounced. Houston had what nobody else did: leverage. They owned the Suns' most valuable picks. They had young players Phoenix liked, and they could offer just enough to look good in the headlines without touching the real core of their rebuild. So they sent Jalen Green, a former top pick who never fully clicked. They added Dylan Brooks, a solid defender but not a cornerstone. They tossed in the number 10 pick and a handful of second-rounders, and that was it. They kept the best Suns picks. They kept their core. And somehow they got Kevin Durant for pennies on the dollar. Does this even make sense? So why take the risk? Houston was supposed to be patient, building around kids like Alperen Şengün and Amen Thompson. But last season, they proved they were way ahead of schedule. They finished number 2 in the West, built on defense and gritty hustle. But the offense stuck in the middle, exactly where you don't want to be in the playoffs. Jalen Green was supposed to fix that. But one night he'd drop 40, the next 3 he'd disappear. In the playoffs, he ghosted when they needed him the most. Houston had seen this before. They lived through the James Harden hero ball era. They knew they needed a closer who wouldn't fade under the lights. Durant, even at 37, is still that guy. Jalen Green was supposed to fix that. But one night he'd drop 40, the next 3 he'd disappear. In the playoffs, he ghosted when they needed him the most. Houston had seen this before. They lived through the James Harden hero ball era. They knew they needed a closer who wouldn't fade under the lights. Durant, even at 37, is still that guy. Last season, he averaged 27 a game, somehow more efficient than 5 years ago. The Achilles tear everyone thought would finish him didn't slow him down, at least not where it counts. Sure, he's lost a step on defense. He doesn't slash to the rim like before. He doesn't live at the free throw line. But nobody brings in Durant for that. They bring him in because when the clock hits 0 and you need an impossible shot, he's still one of the only players alive who can make it. And in Houston, the fit is almost perfect. Coach Ime Udoka knows Durant from their Brooklyn days. There's respect, there's trust, and there's no young star waiting to fight for the last shot. Durant is the closer. End of. The core stays strong. By moving Green and Brooks, Houston lost some wing defense, but they kept the real prizes. Amen Thompson and Tari Eason, the so-called Terror Twins, are still growing into monsters. Sengun is turning into a modern big who can do everything, and Fred VanVleet runs the floor like an on-court coach. All Durant has to do is finish what they start. But there's still one thing nobody knows. Who leads when it matters most? Durant's never been that glue guy. He's not the voice in the locker room, so that weight falls on Udoka. It's rare for an NBA coach to be the heart and soul of a contender, but if anyone, the Giannis shadow. And then there's the wildest twist, Giannis. For months, rumors said Houston's real target was the Greek freak. All those picks were supposed to lure him if he forced his way out of Milwaukee. So does this deal mean Giannis is staying? Did the Rockets get word that the window closed? Or did they just steal Durant so cheap they still have ammo for the next superstar who shakes free? Either way, the Rockets just told the league they're done waiting. They want the West now, not 5 years. The big question. But if KD can't hold up, if the defense slips, if the chemistry cracks, Houston could end up exactly where Phoenix is today. Asset poor, star chasing, out of time. This trade didn't just change Houston's story, it flipped the whole Western Conference upside down. It might have doomed the Suns for good, and it might have made Giannis rethink everything. So here's the question. Can Kevin Durant's final act really deliver Houston the ending it's been dreaming of? Or is this just another tragic sequel waiting to happen? If you think KD to Houston was shocking, wait till you hear what's happening with Giannis. Click here to see how the next superstar domino could fall before the league even sees. The Suns' downward spiral just began. Meanwhile, back in Phoenix, the damage is deeper than it looks. Losing Durant was the final nail in a coffin they built themselves. The fans see through the PR spin. There's no more win-now core, no cap flexibility, and no real picks to rebuild. All they have left is to pretend a youth rebuild can fix this fast. But insiders know the truth. Phoenix is back to square one, with the silent winners nobody's talking about. And while the Suns scramble, other teams are quietly celebrating. The Thunder, the Nuggets, they know Phoenix just left the door wide open. Houston's big swing means every contender has to react. And the ripple effect could blow the entire Western Conference wide open. One move could turn into 5. One superstar deal could start a chain reaction that nobody's ready for. The next big gamble. Just the start. But here's the thing. What if this trade isn't Houston's final move? What if stealing Kevin Durant is just the first strike in a bigger plan? All over the league, stars are restless. Luka in Dallas, Embiid in Philly, they're watching. They see a young Rockets core, fresh legs, tough defense, and now a legend who can still close games. And Houston didn't even empty their war chest to get him. They kept enough picks and contracts to swing again if the next big name wants out. Durant alone might make them a contender. But Durant plus one more piece, that could break the West wide open. And the Rockets know it. They're gambling big, but they're gambling smart. If this hits, they're not just relevant. They're a dynasty in the making. If it flops, they're back to square one. One way or another, this isn't over. Houston's move is a warning shot. And if you think Durant and Rockets red is shocking, you'd better stay locked in. Because the next superstar twist might be closer than any. KD's legacy on the line, one last time. And for Kevin Durant, this is it, the final chapter. He's been the villain, the mercenary, the lone wolf, the desperate star stuck on broken teams. Houston might be his last shot to flip the script. If he wins here, the story changes. If he fails again, the narrative is set in stone. KD, the superstar who never did it alone. So the question is simple. Will the Rockets' gamble turn into a dynasty or a disaster? And if you think KD to Houston was wild, wait till you see what happens when the next domino, maybe Giannis, maybe some